We're hanging out with one of our favorite personalities on social media. Joining us on the Force Geeks podcast is a talented performer who can pretty much do it all, from acting, dancing, stunts to motion capture and suit performance. To say she's versatile just doesn't do enough justice to capture all of her many talents. Though she is smaller in stature, she is fierce, and we are so excited to have her here. She's been a part of multiple blockbuster franchises, including one of our favorites, Star Wars. On The Mandalorian, she's helped Mando out of some tough binds and also had to protect her offspring from a very hungry baby Yoda. It's such a pleasure to welcome Misty Rosas to the Force Geeks podcast. Misty, thank you so much for joining us today. So excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I was very excited to meet all of you. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
You've gotten to play some really iconic things that fans have really latched onto from The Mandalorian, like let alone how successful a franchise this is amongst a major franchise itself. You've played two characters that people just instantly gravitated toward. What's it like for you to see that kind of engagement? Because I know from watching you on social media, and Matt Tagami here is our social media guy, he's seen how active you are and how much the fans have just connected with you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I think, I feel like it comes from, a lifetime of work, and that lifetime of work is infused with love. When I approached both characters, the way that I approached them and trying to really embody their humanity and love. I think that is what really connects these characters with the fans, and just being a lifelong Star Wars fan myself, I was so beyond excited, happy tears flowing, and getting the deal memo for season 1 as Kuiil. I was just like shaking and just like overwhelmed with joy, and just couldn't wait to pour every bit of my energy and strength and love and compassion and wisdom and life experience into these characters. So I think that's what they connect with the most.
Well, it's so fantastic. And they definitely have. And you are so great with the fans and how much you engage. You're very approachable, which I imagine can be quite a task in and of itself when you look at the sheer amount of people that are wanting to get your attention and getting to engage. And you're just wonderful at it. And we obviously want to talk about your experience working in Star Wars, because that's what our show is about. But we're also going to talk about some other points in your entertainment journey as well, and things that you're ongoing and still working with, including your music career and how yoga plays an important role in your life. And of course, though, Star Wars, that journey is something that we're particularly interested in. When it comes to the physicality of playing Kuiil and obviously Frog Lady, as we affectionately know her as, I want to know a little bit about, like, with Nick Nolte being involved as the voice. How difficult is that for you as a performer when you're thinking, were you hearing was it already voiced? Did it come later? How did that work for you to be able to get into character and get that physicality down for what you wanted to present?
It comes from, fortunately, work that I've been doing, especially with the Jim Henson Company.
Yes.
It's the same type of craft where I work simultaneously with a puppeteer. So I'm used to working with somebody and trying to be extremely present to kind of, blend and mesh our performances together. It's the hardest thing for me to do, but oftentimes when they're developing new characters, we do these screen tests, and sometimes they just want to do things off script, which is so hard, because you have to be so beyond present, because I don't know what the puppeteer is going to say. So learning to have that kind of absolute presence really has helped. And so then when it came to Star Wars, I got back into a practical suit, but still the same type of craft where I'm listening to a voice, which fortunately, John Favreau and Dave Filoni, they met with Nick Nolte and they recorded all of his lines ahead of time. Sometimes I would be really lucky and get them a night or so before, sometimes on the day. So my team and I we would go through rehearsal, and obviously I would do rehearsal as me, which was extremely intense for me because I like to be underneath costumes. Then after that, I would race to the puppeteering rig, and we'd all, huddle up and talk about the flow. And, sometimes I didn't like to do it all the time, but sometimes I would give my puppeteers like a physical cue or something so that they knew when I'd want to say a certain line. But I didn't want to be married to that. I wanted it to kind of just be organic. And then as we would shoot, several takes of a scene, we would get into that flow and find it. So, I've learned throughout my career and the different performances that I just have to be really present, like be so present that you can just like bring it all together. So
let's talk about Kuiil for a second. That get up, you mentioned you like to be kind of undercover there. How much did that all weigh? What was it? Could you breathe okay? What was that like, and what's involved in the gear alone?
I didn't weigh it because it was extreme. It was heavy. And then, it didn't matter how much it weighed because it wouldn't have said, oh, it weighs too much, forget it. Not do. It's just like, okay, I had to up my core workouts so that, because the weight kind of, I carried most of it on my shoulders. And that was, so then my stomach and my back, like, just had to be as strong and as fit as possible to.
Well, as a gymnast with your background, also with yoga, you teach yoga, how much that all play into your ability to even physically do all this stuff?
It all helps.
Yeah.
I even as a young kid, I've always been freakishly strong. So I
Nice.
just kind of maintained that my whole life. I mean, and I have gymnastics to thank for developing that type of strength and discipline. To answer your other question, it was very hard to breathe in that head because it was made of silicone. Sometimes most of my heads, there's breathing room, and it was so tightly sculpted to my face because my eyes were, exposed, and I just wore sclera contacts, but it was right on my face. So much so that sometimes during a scene and the dialogue, it would start to pinch the side of my face, and I'd have to be like, cut. And then my team would come in and have to kind of push it a little bit. So yeah, it was intense. It was heavy. It was hot. I couldn't breathe. So
not for the faint of heart.
Being claustrophobic like I am, that does not sound fun.
No.
Yeah, oftentimes people are like, I
don't think that would work.
Little claustrophobia. Do you think I'd be okay? It's like,
no.
No, you will not.
And when you're referring to your team, like, I mean, because I've listened to a couple of you before, like, how big is your team? Like 2, 3, like what, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure, of course. It was me, Nick Nolte's brilliant voice and dialogue, and then usually 3 puppeteers. So sometimes just 2. So yeah, it was a team of 5 of us. So yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning, because I do want to talk more about Kuiil and also Frog Lady and Star Wars, but I want to talk more about like you at this point. And I'm not going to even pretend I'm going to ask you anything you haven't been asked before. It's impossible to do at this point because you've done a lot of these. But at the same time, how did gymnastics play a role into you finding your way into this kind of niche area of things in Hollywood?
Fate, knowing the right person at the right time. My gymnastics coach that I trained with is an elite gymnast. The production for Congo had called him. They'd been on a nationwide search to find people, actors, gymnasts, they narrowed it down. The gymnasts would be the ones that could handle the weight of a gorilla costume and the cardiovascular strength that's needed, the upper body strength. So he called me and he knew I had done work at Disneyland. So he's like, you are the right height, the right build, and you have a little bit of costume work under your belt. So you should go for this audition. I was at college at the time, but it was just this opportunity, and it took me directly into the direction, that I've always wanted to go, which is creating, acting, performing. So, and I was fortunate because we had a 3-month long training process to learn how to uh, become, move, feel, and breathe, and become a gorilla. Learn how to work blind in an animatronic head. Understand, the weight, the heat, the fatigue, the oxygen deprivation.
Yeah.
They taught us, it's like, you either really want to do this and you really, really love this, or don't do it, because it is the most intense thing you'll do. And I don't know, I love challenges.
There was so much promotion with that movie Congo. That was mid 90s. I remember that. And it was like Michael Crichton coming off the success of Jurassic Park. Congo is next big thing. And it did, box office dollars. It was huge. And I'm curious, what was it like for your young self at that point, realizing that you're part of a blockbuster in Hollywood? At what point were you like, I'm here, I'm doing this? What were you thinking at that point? And what'd you think of your future?
I think I was too young to appreciate it. It was my very first job. Just in one way, it was like I was handed something, but I also spent my entire childhood training and as a gymnast, and the sacrifice. And for me, gymnastics, like, I made it all the way to the top as an elite gymnast, but emotionally and mentally, because I beat myself up for a long time, the idea of going on, being on an international stage and not doing well, not being perfect, that was too much for me.
It's intense pressure.
So it's just this gift of gymnastics sent me ultimately on the path that I really wanted to be on, which, from the depths of my soul, I'm more of a creative artist, not a great competitor. So, yeah.
You put in lots of work. I mean, with the gymnastics alone, you put in so much work, the training to become elite. And then on top of that, it's not as if you just had a connection and boom, you're there. And how did this happen? There was lots of work that went into it. Obviously.
Yeah. But it was the same type of work as being an elite gymnast. Like, we trained twice a day, 3 times a week, and once a day, 3 times a week, and we had 1 day off. So training for Congo was very similar to that. It was, the morning was all about the physical training, and then the afternoon was all about acting and movement training. But it was a nice, it married all the things that I love in life. So it was just like, oh my gosh. But then it's almost like I had to then kind of start over and then go back to acting class and acting for the camera class in college, and just on a different journey, a different trajectory. So, but the one that I've always wanted to be on. So
I'm curious, if you're training to become a gorilla, to be an ape at that point, is there something that still sticks with you today? Like, just like it one thing they told you about becoming a gorilla that still sticks with you today, that like it was the strange thing, but you just latched onto it. What is that thing?
Just that I had no idea that people did this. It was like, this is so cool. And it wasn't Peter Elliott. I just remember he told all of us one time, it's like, internalize the caution. And I still to this day don't quite know what that meant. It was like, okay. But I think
clearly you did it though.
Thing that was taught that stuck with me is just a mantra, which is not now, later. So when the weight of the suit, and having to, I just especially remember the montage scenes with IG-11, and it's like, I'm carrying my own weight, I can't breathe, I'm kneeling in a weird way, and he was made of like steel. So when the way they're trying to have me like hold him, it was just like every single muscle was shaking, and I remember my head saying, just stay focused, not now, later, for all of the physical and emotional stuff that is like going on. But I know that what I'm doing on there is going to forever be on the screen, so just dig deeper and stay in that moment. So
What was it like on the set? The show Mandalorian was very groundbreaking, not only just because it was the first foray for Star Wars in television, but beyond that, it was also incorporating some new technology. You talk about the volume and what that's like. As a performer, I imagine that'd be very challenging for you because one of the things that a lot of other folks liked is how well they could see and envision the environment instead of just the digital screen, the green screen or blue screen effect. That's what's cool about the volume. We've watched a lot of, the documentaries about that. For you, I imagine it was kind of hard because your sight is not as good as everyone else's because of all the gear and stuff. But what was the sentiment of this groundbreaking equipment amongst all the performers and the crew and everybody? What were they? Did you feel like there was intense pressure about what was going on, or was it all kind of taken in stride?
I think there was a tremendous amount of excitement, awe of like when you walk onto that stage where the volume is and what those artists and technicians created. But even before we walk onto it into that space, it's so beautiful, and it's Star Wars. And I do, like, every once in a while, like have to like take a deep breath because as a kid growing up, I loved, watching, Luke and Yoda training, for him to be a Jedi. And as a gymnast at the time too, I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
I can do that. I could be a Jedi, but never even considering, that I would be in Star Wars. So it was very emotional. Everybody that was there wanted to be there, and absolutely loved it. Yes, the hours are long and grueling, but I think it was just it's not a fortunate accident, but it is very serendipitous of how all of the artists that came on board for this. A lot of the actors like just were struggling. You hear it in everybody's stories, and so to get this moment, to get this break, it's that's what's coming through in the stories is all of us are bringing our life experience and the struggles and the challenges that we faced and putting that into the work. And I think that's why it's so telling and emotional and connecting for people. Like, you can really feel it.
So working with John and with Dave, I believe Dave was the first director for that. I mean, the director for that first show. What was it like watching them kind of work together and in their relationship in terms of being a performer and actor? How did that impact you, and what did you notice from them and how they approach things?
There's a great amount of respect that they have for each other in the collaboration. It's a partnership. So that's a beautiful thing, starting from the top. I mean, John and Dave, they're two of the most generous people I've ever met. And, I mean, all of us, I deliberately don't Google people so that I don't like freak out because, Dave was my first director, and he was, episode 1. And, I'm so glad I didn't do that because, I would have been freaking out. So he just was this very knowledgeable Star Wars director and just the nicest, happiest guy that you would ever meet. And so starting from the top there with them, and then obviously collaborating with them, they create that beautiful environment for us to work in, to create in. They give us a lot of freedom to try things, and then they'll just come and say, well, try it this way. And everything for me, I learned from acting classes, like, just, it's an acting exercise. It's just an exercise. Try this, try that. So I laughed every day. I had to really, really conserve my energy, obviously, and give Kuiil everything. So a lot of the casting crew didn't really know my more perky, bubbly personality, except for a few times when I had to do off-camera lines with Brendan, and he and I just failed miserably because like we're not in our suits, and it's just like laughter and fun. And it was like, they're gonna murder us. So because we were just having a good time. They're like, who is this person? It's like, this is me outside of the suit.
This is Misty, and this is the real person.
Me.
Deborah Chow, as a director, we were big fans of the shows that she also worked on as well, and she's of course working on the Kenobi series. But for you, working with her on the Mandalorian, how did she stand out? What were the differences you saw in maybe how she approached things versus John and Dave together? And I know John and Dave are still involved as the executive producers of the show as well. But what were some of the nuances you noticed with her?
She knows exactly what she wants. And so it is just this collaborative effort of, you know, especially if you come in very prepared with what you want to do, it just it makes it this lovely, seamless work that you do together. Yeah, she's just so quiet and just works so hard, and she's driven and very prepared. So she knew exactly how she wanted the whole of her episodes to look. So, you know, that helps you too in, you know, being more precise with how you're shaping a scene so that the whole of it just is seamless and beautiful and, you know, connected. So
Knowing what you know of her from your work with her on The Mandalorian, and I'm being careful on how I'm phrasing things because I know you can't talk about future projects, but knowing what you know of her from working with her on The Mandalorian, what would you tell fans to expect from her when it comes to the new series that'll be coming out later for Kenobi? What do you think they can expect based on what you know from her from The Mandalorian?
oh, something very moving and powerful and beautiful, just from obviously our work on chapter 7. That was, you know, and she's just so sweet and funny because obviously when we were shooting Kuiil's last scene, it was a skeleton crew, you know, because we wanted to try to keep things. But I just remember the quiet hush over the whole, you know, crew and stuff, and it's just like you could feel it. It was palpable. This like, no, and
I
then
have
just so many
goosebumps right now
people.
thinking of it. I
Yeah,
as we fans, we were also like, no. We were
yeah,
so touched by that. It was just, it really got us. And the way it was done was so moving. So it's exciting to hear you say that. But
yeah. That's
what,
Deb Chow.
how did you deal with that? What you became this character. How did you feel when you read the script and saw this is what was happening? Because I was devastated. I'm not going to lie. I cried a little bit. I loved the character Kuiil so much. It is my favorite character from the first season. So I
Oh.
was, you know, even next to Baby Grogu, I love that guy, but it was Kuiil for me.
I cried too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was so excited to be a part of this beautiful story. And so when I finally got my scripts, I immediately, you know, I read them first just as a person reading, you know, not even taking notes or anything yet. And like from, you know, the first few pages of chapter 1, I was just like, oh my, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm part of this. I can't believe I'm part of this. And then when I got to that, it was, you know, the same, you know, no, heard around the world. You know, and yeah, I put my scripts down and my first, you know, thought was, no, he was such a just a cool character. And then I was like, okay, he has a short time on screen, so just make him memorable. And, you know, how do I do that? What is it that I, you know, will be creating? And again, it comes from love, it comes from life experience, it comes from wisdom, it comes from going on journeys that don't have the great fulfilling happy ending like my gymnastics journey, but being humble, the humility of it, kind of just pouring all of that and just all of my life experience and hard work that doesn't always necessarily pay off the way you want it to, just throwing that in. So yeah, I was sad, and I was just my friends had, at the time were coming over to our house to watch, so there's a big gathering, and I was just like so
Yeah, what was that like?
as that was coming, because again it was this like quiet hush, and one of my friends like threw a Nerf ball at me. They were so mad, and I'm just like, I'm just like, why did you tell me? And everybody's crying. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, it
was
just
so hoping that we would see Kuiil get up in the next episode, and it was just knocked out. I was desperately hoping, and then of course we saw that famous Jason Sudeikis and Adam coming in for the start of the next episode. But I was just devastated. As what was it like for you to interact with fans after all that went down? Because I know people had strong feelings about it, like we did.
It was overwhelming, like in all of the most beautiful ways and the best ways. Like you just never know. Like I had literally an anxiety attack right before, we went to the premiere and stuff, because you just never know how people are going to respond to your work. But I also know it's like, all I can ever do is prepare, and give it 1,000% and give it, these characters all the love I can possibly give them, and then just let it go. And if people love them, cool. If they don't resonate with it, that's okay too. So I just knew it was a different experience for me when literally the day after the show premiered, there's a gentleman from Italy that's like got like a picture of Kuiil and a picture of me side by side, and it's like hashtagging and tagging me. It's like, whoa, because I was still not, really sharing too much that, I was in the costume. A lot of people, from Lucasfilm and stuff, and I respected that. Having been a suit performer for so long, I know my job and it's underneath, and I really want people to connect and resonate with the character, not necessarily me. So, I kept it quiet for a while, but little by little, it started coming out. I was like, dude, there's a girl under there.
Yep.
We could feel everything. Like you
Yeah.
said, the love, the heart,
Absolutely.
like all that. It just exudes out of the suit.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. He's a once in a lifetime, and it was just I'm so excited and grateful and proud to be able to take everything that I've learned from this life journey so far and be able to put it into this character. And the same thing with Frog Lady. She has a similar tough story, and it was just like, ooh, yay, I get to be, play a female character, and she has a very emotional moment with Mando, and little Grogu's right there too.
Yeah.
So it was just, I'm just having the time of my life.
It's so much fun to get to escape into this land of make-believe where such cool things happen. And we're close in age, Misty, and I remember how big Star Wars was at that point. You come from a fairly large family too, right? You got several siblings. Yeah. I mean, Star Wars is a big thing when we were kids, and to be a part of something like that, what's it like for you to join a franchise as big as this? Is there to be embraced by the fandom, especially with a couple of characters that have been so beloved? How exciting is that to get the chance to be a part of something big like that?
It really is a dream come true. Because even if I didn't understand it like intellectually, because I was, very young. When the first three we saw them, I just remember, I don't know if I should have seen, the Empire Strikes Back as young as I did, because it's like dramatic, and I didn't understand what a trilogy was, and it's like, all of it. But it just, George Lucas, just the message, and again, making these is for, for kids of all ages, but for the young ones, the Force has always resonated with me. And for me, personally, it's about that, that love connection of, selfless love. like Obi-Wan, and all of them willing to give their life for the greater good of all. So it's just like, oh. And so then when that happened to Kuiil, I mean, as emotional as I was about it, I was so proud too to, be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for Grogu, for this innocent little being, to help him on his journey on, to get where he needs to go. So
how do people treat the puppet when they're around it? I mean, you come from Henson world too, the Henson company and everything. Being around this is not new for you, but at the same time, what was it like to see everybody else interacting? Do they treat it like it's alive? I mean, what's it like acting with Grogu?
You have to be careful with him. He's a very, very expensive puppet. So, yeah, I mean, people are not necessarily allowed to be too close to him. He has his team too, which is even bigger, depending on how physical he is. I always treat him, just like my favorite baby, and I talk to him and stuff. And of course, like, those puppeteers are also part of my puppeteering team, so they always will like power him up and just make him, we have conversations.
Even after he was eating your eggs?
Yeah.
I mean, I had to ask.
Yep.
Well, the way that, for me, again, it's just a personal opinion. Grogu, Mando, and Frog Lady, like all journeys, they don't always go right, and they found themselves in extreme circumstances. Grogu is a baby. Mando is learning how to be a papa, and he was hungry. So
Yeah.
it was like survival at that point, and there was a lesson to be learned.
The circle of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he too, he comes from obviously such a violent beginning, just like Mando. They just know how to survive. That's it. And so they don't trust anybody yet. And I think, there are some beautiful arcs in there with, Frog Lady teaching, compassion, teaching love, understanding, and not, because we can't learn by that negative reinforcement. It can only come from a loving, empathetic, compassionate place. And just his little face, like, because obviously I couldn't see him when we did our final little scene where I was babysitting, and I was so excited when I got to when they sent me that scene, because that was added later. I didn't know I was going to get to do that. I was like, so it was just a cute moment, because I was blind in that animatronic head. So
Yeah.
it's just for me placing it, the head properly, but I didn't know how the scene was going. And then just him kind of interacting with like my little baby. And then, looking at me, there's just that one moment of that look of kind of understanding and stuff. But again, she's so gentle and loving that it's like, it's okay. You have to learn by doing. So, yeah. And then he didn't want to leave. I was so hoping that there's one take where like Mando picked him up and his little hands were like on the bowl. Like he was just like, do not want to go. And of course, he started crying when he left. And it was like, they didn't obviously use that take, but I thought it was brilliant. So it's like any little kid is having the greatest time ever. And he's like, I don't want to go home yet.
Do another take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or two.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your music career as well, because as I said before, you're a multifaceted person. Performing is just kind of part of your DNA, it seems. I'd love to know more, like watching the video for Panic. It was so well done. It was really great.
Yes.
We all enjoyed it. But talk about some of the things that you're most proud of when it comes to your singing career and your most recent material, because I'd love to share that with everyone.
Yeah. What am I most proud of? I think I'm most proud of the persistence and resilience of this journey. Definitely has tested me the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the lessons from my gymnastics journey they kind of tie in as well of, just keep going. And this is something that really is personal that I really love. And I'm on my own fully just making it happen.
Writing your own material.
Yeah. So just when I met my record producers, they said that off the bat. It's like, the only way you are going to make it is if you write your own songs. And it's like, okay, and I had been to songwriting classes and stuff. So I had a little bit of, training, but it's just, that's ongoing. Training vocally is ongoing, but, I just love it. But Panic Button actually is one of the things I'm most proud of, because the idea in my head, it just felt like too big at first, like it just this impossible idea to but it's just like, nah, just one step at a time. And it's just one of those beautiful journeys where my friend Amanda, I was talking about this, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to create, and she's a writer, director, producer. And she's like, let me get you in touch with my friend Jonathan, who's a director. And it's just like, once you kind of speak the dream and put it out there, you'd be surprised how much, momentum, is created, and one after the other, everybody jumps on board. And again, leading with, so much joy and passion and knowing what you want. So doing that, and then choosing to share that much of myself, like I was,
it was personal.
Yeah. It was just it's like, do I really want to do this? And my answer is of course yes. If I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to write this song that is so deep, I need to just go for it and be honest and tell the whole truth, even if it's not pretty. So
how liberating is it? Because again, that was personal. Like, you're really exposing you at your core to everyone to have and to see. Is that freeing for you? Or I would be an anxious mess if that were me, but I'm curious for you, how you open yourself up to give that much of yourself.
Yeah, it was something that I, was being pulled back and forth. Is like, how much of myself do I want to expose? But it's like, I'm an artist, so I wanted to be courageous and just tell the whole truth, because I know somewhere out there it'll resonate with people, and just remind everybody how connected we are. And, everybody has demons, that they're struggling with and battling with every day. And if I can just, inspire people and touch people's hearts, and then, telling the darker truths is really important. So it's like, just, either go big or go home.
Well, you did, and it went big. That's awesome. What's next for you when it comes to your singing career? I'd love to know, like, what do you have on tap next? What are you trying to develop now?
Right now, I just released, it was kind of like, it was an EP that I wanted to share with fans, because right now I'm not doing any live shows, just for me personally, safety. I just wanted to
understandable.
Care everybody. So I was like, what is the best thing I could give everybody? And so we really broke it down in this last EP that I released on December 21st. It very much sounds like what, if you were to come to my show, what the live show would sound like. So what is next is just more writing. I have my grandma's song, and I've been doing a lot of yoga and meditation and stuff, and I honestly think that today the whole thing has come together. I think too, as an artist and just as a human on this journey, I wasn't ready to write her song yet. It still hurt too much to have lost her in 2020. There's just certain things you can't say yet until your heart heals a little bit. So her song is ready, and my vocal coach feels that I should create a Christmas album for everybody next.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're ready for it.
Yes.
We need this for next season.
Yes. So, just thinking about that, and also trying to just kind of take some time to be still.
Yeah.
I know from experience, especially in the last couple of years, um, the stillness will help to invite creatively where you'll go next. And sometimes the stillness, it gives you that um, the energy, and sometimes that uncomfortable stillness to, then it's like, what do I want to do next? And I want to try something new. You won't push out of your comfort zone until you're uncomfortable. And that was important because I did shoot an indie film last year, and it's called My Favorite Girlfriend. It is coming out this year. And I said yes to my friend Amanda because I was in 1.5 scenes and I was okay with that. But then it's like, the script read throughs on Zoom were going along. The producers liked what I was creating with this character. And so before I know it, I'm in like 7 scenes, and I was just like, no, it is happening. I didn't sign up for this, but I did in a way. So it's just like, okay,
That's
be
awesome.
courageous and, try for it. So, but I'm not in a head or anything. I'm not hiding.
We get to see Misty
There you
as
go.
a new character, but without the
Yes.
creature effects.
Yes. So that was, part of my conundrum and anxiety, but it's just like, you asked for this, you wanted to do this, you love this character, and they in turn loved it back. So they wanted more of her.
You put it out into the universe
I
answers.
did.
Yeah. I've been asking a lot of questions. I tend to lead these things, but guys, is there something that you've heard from Misty that you want to kind of dig into, or something that's on your mind? I don't want to hog everything here. So I know that we're getting shorter on time at this point, but Jake?
I did have two, but Jake, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Matt.
The first one, kind of rewinding all the way back to near the beginning, but gymnastics. Who are your idols?
My idols at that time were Nadia Comaneci,
Yep.
Olga Corbett, Mary Lou Retton, and then
Of course.
yeah, the gymnasts that I was actually training with, even though I was super young. I was 11 and they were 17, 18. But Michelle Dussert, she was on the Olympic team in 1984, and it was really amazing to I would train with them, but again, they were in the senior elite level, and I was in the child elite level at that point. But
84 Olympics, that takes it back. I remember that.
Yep.
That was like an amazing time in American gymnastics to be just witnessing. That's so cool. Yeah, that experience. Yeah. What else, Matt?
Another one that I asked D, actually we had him on just recently, but being a singer, you get that immediate feedback. You get the fans cheering. You're in the suit. You get nothing.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you've done what you needed to do for that character?
Oh, it's just the amount of preparation going into it, and being extremely mindful of, staying with the work. Like I remember, a few days is having 12, 14, 16-hour days, and by like hour 10 you're just like super tired.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you gotta dig deep, and because again, what you're creating is going to stay on screen forever. So yeah, it's just love, making sure that you pour every ounce of your energy and love into these characters, and hopefully people will enjoy them. And again, if they don't, that's okay too. It's all very personal, and you can't take it personally if somebody doesn't understand your performance.
No, totally. I mean, I remember you had a quote that stuck with me. You said, not about the money or the fame or the fortune, but it was about what you love. So, I mean, you can definitely feel that coming across in your performances.
Love's a very central theme. I
It
picked up
is.
on that, and that's awesome. That's the passion.
Yes.
And then the last one was when you found out that Kuiil was unfortunately ending his run. Did you already know about Frog Ladies, or is that completely separate? They didn't mention anything to you of that?
No, nothing. So, and I was bummed. And again, it's just like, you just have to be grateful for what you're given. And, I really was, and I just gave it 1,000%. And if I was meant to do more in the Star Wars universe, I would just be so excited. But if, I didn't, that would be okay too. I'm always one that's like, trust the natural flow of things. And oftentimes you'll experience like trying so hard for something and it's just not working. It's like, okay, I surrender. And that's clearly not the way I'm supposed to go. So it's just like, get grounded, go practice yoga, go hike, meditate, that kind of thing. And you'll find wherever you're supposed to go next. So yeah. But I was super excited when they're like, we have this other role for you. And they're like, it's a frog. I remember, watching some, frog documentaries and just, yeah, they're an intense creature. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do my own thing with this.
How do you bring a frog to life in that manner? What did you do? You said you watched some documentaries. What did you do at that point to like bring some, some of that character to life?
I like to, when I'm working with Legacy, especially, and putting on all of the pieces and stuff, try to utilize the beauty of everything that they create. Like her hands were beautiful, but they were also very delicate, which was very challenging with the crate, which again was super heavy. And I couldn't really hold it because in the first scene, her introduction scene, I am, holding the straps, but I wasn't holding, like, all of the weight was just pushing into my lower back because, one of my puppeteers came up to me and she's like, you're tearing the skin that was right here on her hands. Wow. It was just beautiful and delicate. It's like, oh no. And so, I pulled that in, and then again, it was just pretend holding of the pack, just to, obviously they made one pair of those beautiful hands. So trying to keep them looking as lovely as possible throughout the shoot, but just, kind of using those hands, and doing my thing as a suit performer. Everybody in the Star Wars universe, for me, what I decided is she's trying to like blend with, being as human as she can, even though she's, this other species. And because again, like I asked them, it's like, how do you want her to run and stuff? And we tried things, and it's like, there's no way I could keep up with Mando, obviously stunt Mando Latif in the running scenes. Like, no, as as you've watched Star Wars, they're, humanoid. So I was like, okay, thank God. So, but yeah, just trying to take other little things, that, and pulling some things from frogs. Like they have sometimes like their little sharp, quick looks here and there. So
what kind of direction was Peyton Reed providing you? He was the director for that episode, as I believe. And,
yes.
And yeah, what was he like to work with, and what was kind of direction were you getting from him?
Oh God, he's so much fun. He's just energy, just this brilliant, positive, tour de force energy, which again, that episode, especially the first one, really needed that because it was just like high adrenaline from the beginning. Yeah, he allows you to do your thing. He just like will run in and give you a note and run back out, and just super fun and light. And yeah, I just remember too, because I had to do, obviously Frog Lady's monologue as me with Pedro, and then John, who always writes all my beautiful dialogue. Like I remember he was sitting there too in the Razor Crest, and he was just off, and it was like, oh, please don't sit there, as I'm about to just pour my heart and soul out. Because I was very aware too that I would need to, I think, emote more as me physically so that it would read through the suit
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So, and I just remember him saying, it doesn't have to be that emotional, but my whole team from Legacy was behind me because they have to watch too from the sides. And John Rosengrant is like, well, I liked it. That made me tear up. So I was like, oh, good. So, you know, yeah. And it was just, I was proud of that moment because Pedro was, you know, super sweet. And he's like, that was amazing. And it was like, this is from Pedro. And I love him. I love his work. And I was like, what is happening?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Jake,
Yeah.
what do you want to talk about?
You know, I don't know that I necessarily have questions, but maybe to phrase it as a statement, I would say that the one impression that I've been getting from everybody that we've talked about or talked with or heard from in the past, and especially from you now, is that everybody on set wants to be there and they love Star Wars as much as we do. And it really seems to shine through when we watch The Mandalorian or whatever. It just really seems like there's a reverence for the source material. And we've talked about it a lot on our show, how important that is to us as fans. And I mean, is that accurate? Do you think that that everybody has that reverence and that's why things are so successful, at least in my opinion anyway?
Yes. You know, a lot of us have grown up with Star Wars, and
Mhm.
I think too, you know, the message of it, George Lucas and what he created with these characters, you know, it resonated with me and all of the people that I create with on set. You can just feel it, you know. It's a family on there,
Mhm.
and it's a family of creatives that love Star Wars. Because, you know, by again hour 10, hour 12, hour 14, hour 16 sometimes,
Jeez.
you really have to love it, you know, and be in those moments. And I have oftentimes running in my head just the Jedi music. And like I've posted things before with that. And, you know, my friend Chris, who plays all of the droid characters, Chris Bartlett, he like messaged like, thank you so much. And he was just like all emotional. He's like, I really needed that. It's like, I know it's all about, you know, lifting people up and knowing how connected we really are. And, you know, it is the Force. So.
Well, I have to say that it's amazing to see the creature effects team and all they do, what they make, but you bring it to life. It doesn't matter how great the suit is. It takes a talented performer to make us lose our sense of reality and just accept what is. And that's what I know specifically with your performance. And we talked a lot with details about that too, but there's certain mannerisms, certain things you do that just makes us forget there's a person under a suit and it's just a being. And that's what really stands out about your work. And it's so cool to see that. And it's that suspension of disbelief. And it's so easy to do with how you present things. And we're just big fans of you and what you do. Just a couple of things I wanted to touch on real quick. How did you react when you found out you were going to be in Star Wars? Where were you? What was happening? How did it all happen?
I was driving, and yeah, I got a message from my agent, you know, which of course I can, you know, tap the console button on my car and things like, and you know, she's like, I got something for you. Where are you? It's like, I'm driving. She's like, you should probably pull over now. So
Yeah.
okay, you know, and there's just I pulled over, and it was just, yeah, I read it, and it's my deal memo, and at the bottom it says Star Wars, and I was just like again, like I was just, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and yeah, crying in my car parked on the side of the street. And you know, I called my mom, and it's just like, I can't tell you anything, but I can tell you I'm in a Star Wars show. And she's like, you know, and my mom is my mom, and she's just not into all of that stuff. She, you know, was a
She's
great
mom.
and yeah, brought us to it. And she's like, oh honey, you know, I'm so happy for you. And it's like, I know you love Star Wars. Like, I do. So I was just, yeah, it was happy tears and just like this like shaking of whoa. It you know, it felt like it came out of left field because at the time just super focused on music my agent, and again, lessons learned, because I remember production having multiple conversations with her back and forth of, does she have a reel? And at the
Yeah.
time I didn't, like, music was where I was going. It was like,
Yeah.
well, I have this, and it was like fragments of my work here and there, but no like very specific detailed reel of my work. And they're like, okay, just can you we want to bring her in for a cold read audition. And so I was like, okay, whatever, just like, again, not knowing what I was partially blowing off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just, again, there are some things, just like, the production company, Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall Company, calling my former gymnastics coach, and these things that seem that are just meant for you. Yeah. So again, I like to, it's the Force.
At what point could you say that you were a part of Star Wars in The Mandalorian specifically?
On the premiere night.
Then you had to wait till you had to hold the secret that whole time. How much torture was that?
Was just trying to stay focused on my work, and
yeah,
it was hard because my younger brothers are, they're hardcore fans, so it's just my favorite thing to get them, the crew, because every department in the crew, they have their own shirts and hats and things, and I was like, I will buy things, because I want to be able to give it to my younger brothers. And again, they always wear their shirts and their hats and things when I come down to see them. And there's friends and friends of friends. It's like, nah, your sister's not in Star Wars.
Guess
like,
what she is?
Dude.
Yeah, that is awesome. Just phenomenal. We appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us. And I just gotta say, like, you have your own action figure, your own Funko Pops, and it's how cool is it to have your own action figure?
It's again, I mean, sometimes there are no words. Just sort of like. I think I was so most excited for the Frog Lady Pop that obviously it's coming this year.
That thing is cool. It is.
It's so cute. It's so accurate. I think people that really love her are gonna be pleasantly surprised, because she's super cute. And it just made me laugh. I noticed little things like her shoes that my friend Dawn made. She was so excited. Like, they're exactly the shoes. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Because again, I mean, you just, when things are new to you, with Kuiil, it was just this automatic, as soon as the show came out and stuff, like the pop figures and everything were coming out. But with Frog Lady, we all had to wait patiently, kind of not knowing. She's still, she's just a supportive character, not necessarily one of the leads. And so I think it was like me and all of the fans sending like, please make a pop, please make a pop. And they did. So
it was definitely a character that the fans really gravitated towards. They held on to it. There's cool things that you're associated with major pop culture moments. One is Frog Lady. Two is I Have Spoken. Even though that's Nick Nolte voicing it, you're bringing that character to life, and it's cool to have those connections. Major part of pop culture, which is so much fun. I'm also curious, when it comes to just your overall experience, what's the one thing that you take away from getting a chance to be a part of Star Wars? Because it's such a massive franchise, but is there one like pinch me moment, or is there something that stands out to you that kind of resonates and speaks to the whole overall experience?
That it's a feeling, like the day that I was gonna audition, with Seraphin Casting, and it's all things that make me nervous, that I can shy away from, that, and those things that kind of scare you, that make you nervous, like in a split second you can make a choice to say no, I don't want to do that. And I was having a lot of trouble with my ears. Like, I was born with a hearing loss in my right ear. Just one of the 3 inner ear bones is not connected properly. And then just from all the costume work and stuff, I do have nerve damage from in my left ear. And at the time, that day, I had gone to my ear doctor, at Howard House, and the hearing aid that I rely on the most in my left ear, I was having trouble and they would not put it back in. And so I'm freaking out. So I don't have hearing in my left ear, and my right ear is my weak ear. And after my appointment, like I remember standing outside of the building talking to my agents, like, this is not going the way I want to. I can't hear well at all. I know I'm supposed to go to this, cold read audition where I don't know the dialogue, and I'm going to be doing the scene, with an assistant, and Sarah Finn, who's the biggest casting director, is going to be in the room with me. And it's like, I don't want to make, an idiot out of myself. I can read lips really well, but I don't want to do that in that type of environment, because you want to be absorbing and kind of taking in instead of focusing on someone's lips. So, but there's just something about that moment and knowing, it's like, but I really, really want to try for this. I don't know why, but I really want to try for whatever this is. And so she's like, just go, it's going to be okay. And if you can't hear them, just politely ask them to speak up. And it's like, okay. And, when I got there and signed my NDA and got the script and was sitting in the waiting room and read it through, I had that, goosebumps moment of, I know this character. Yeah. I know this character from, my life experience and from choosing to walk away from, a nice stunt career to go on the journey of yoga teacher and yoga teacher training. And the reason I know this character is from, just my karma job, which is teaching yoga to help people to heal and help themselves. So that was the pinch me moment of, whoa, some things just align from a place of wanting to do something to help other people. So, and then Kuiil is just like that. So, and I Have Spoken, it was in my script. And again, I don't think, if you didn't know the depth of him, that was the telling line, I believe, in that audition of, the actor that does this will understand what that means, because it's not arrogant or anything. No. It's just, I have spoken, which is just, I've said what I needed to say, and no more talking. There's, words get in the way of everything.
What a true moment of bravery in a situation where you could be so out of your comfort zone, trying for something that's massively important. That's just a true act, just a moment of bravery. Yeah, I commend you on that.
I just remember walking away from the audition, just being proud that I tried for it, and it's like, called my agents, like, I think you did pretty good. I feel really good about it. And it's like, I don't really care if I get this part, but just the, just going in knowing like how very, handicapped, I don't like to use that word, handicapable I was in that moment, and just trying for it anyway, just, being courageous no matter what. So that was the win for me. And then of course everything happened after that. So
one last question about the directors, because I believe you worked with Rick Famuyiwa as well. So I think he was my favorite of all the directors to be interviewed, because he just like got this passion that I keyed into. That they all have passion, there's no question about that. But can you talk about the direction he provided you as well? Because I loved his interviews. He's a total fan. I just saw it.
Yeah, he's, of all of them, the most kind of quiet, humble, and he lets you do whatever you want to do.
Really?
And then in the most gentle way, like he'll kind of direct you into something else. I remember, and it was one of our super, super long days. I was working with Brendan, and for me and my puppeteering team, we go off of cues from the Mando dialogue and stuff too, so that we can stay in sync. And he was just having a rough dialogue day and couldn't remember his lines, and it was just like this awkward moment of air. And I just remember I was started laughing, and of course it's like, and see. And it's Rick is just cracking up. He's like, what's going on with you two? And we just had the giggles. It's like, he's gonna kill us. But it's just, whatever is happening, he always keeps it super light. And it's just because he allows us so much freedom, there's room for some, kind of just things that happen organically.
Yeah.
Because it is light, it is playful. One of my favorite, it's like a screenshot that someone took when we were doing exterior scenes with the big Jawa trawler back there and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of giving a fist bump because he would always come in, and they all did like check in, how are you okay? And it's like, yeah, I'm good. So just, he's just so down to earth. But he too, he knows exactly what he wants. Like, it's just, they're all lovely and fun. And it's just it's always
a great crew.
Honor, privilege.
It takes a lot of talented folks to put on something this successful and this much fun for everyone. That's something they've done a great job with. I know that with Lucasfilm, they tend to, once they kind of find the people they know that can do the job well, and in performers specifically with Creature, they tend to keep them around for their projects. NDAs being what they are, and we totally respect if you can't say anything, but do you feel like there could be some future opportunities for us to talk to you about Star Wars in the future?
Yeah, I hope so. I love my jobs, and there's like a petition from because I always chat with hair and makeup with all of those wonderful artists and stuff. They're like, your body, because I just decided to start training to kind of honor my body. Like, I had even made a post about it. Like, I'm just in my Chinese New Year. My animal is the ox, and is like, I'm an ox. Like, oh, so I am seriously strong, but I'm tiny. But it's just like, I decided a couple years ago just to train for this body. And so they're like, your body and muscles are crazy. It's like, you should be a bounty hunter. It's like, okay, I'll do it, so it's like,
Vote
cool,
a Jedi.
whatever.
Yep.
I want you to be a Jedi.
I want you to be a
Thank
Jedi too.
you.
Yeah,
I
bounty
know.
hunter's
That would be
great,
cool.
but Jedi for sure is what we need to see.
Yeah, that is my dream of all dreams come true, is to just be,
I hope
just
it happens.
With the backflips and everything.
Yeah, we need to get some of that gymnastics experience coming
Right.
up. Yeah.
Yes, put me on.
We'll hashtag that.
Yeah. Make Misty a Jedi.
Make Misty
Yes.
Jedi.
Well, thank you again. I want to go ahead and roll through. We ask each guest 7 questions. Now, some of these, and it's just whatever pops in your mind, go for it. It's just real quick. But some of this might be pretty obvious, but we'll see. Maybe you'll surprise us. So let's go ahead and get into these 7 questions. You're hanging out in a space cantina. Who are you?
Obi-Wan.
I love it. What's your lightsaber color?
Blue.
Yep, makes sense. They correlate. I get it.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite quote, and what is it?
May the force be with you.
A good one, and always a good one. Okay, yeah. You're a pilot. What's your starship?
What
What are you flying?
I love the Razor Crest.
How could you not? Where do you stand in, I don't know if you're familiar with this, where do you stand on the whole Darth Jar Jar theory?
Ooh. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
I feel like, I don't know, Jar Jar was so innocent. I don't know, because you can be pulled to the dark side.
Could have been a whole ploy the whole time. He could have been coordinating everything and just playing dumb.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what
To be determined later.
That's what my kid keeps saying. That's how it is.
All right. Who's the true hero of Star Wars?
Oh.
I know. That's a hard one.
Oh. It's the collective, it's the whole, just like all of us humans together. It's what we do together collectively that makes this life beautiful. So for me, I really couldn't say there was one, because
it takes a galaxy.
It takes a galaxy to.
All right, final question. Favorite Star Wars movie or series?
Ooh. I don't know. Gosh. I think for me, just because it was the beginning and it so resonated with me because Luke and, being with Yoda, I just, I don't know, it's so hard, but, The Empire Strikes Back,
Can't go wrong with
not
that one.
necessarily for the story, but that moment of
Luke and Yoda, man, it's awesome.
action and the Jedi, and literally saying to myself, I can do handstands, I can be a Jedi, like, just, I don't know, the Force, that one, but just all of them.
You're a good sport.
Yep.
Hey, where can we direct people to get more? I know on YouTube, all we got to do is just look up Misty Rosas so we can see your music, your videos there. Where else would you like to send people to keep up with all things going on with you?
I need to update it, and I apologize for that. A lot of people love my website, which is just mistyrosas.com. Yeah, I'm on all the socials with everybody.
Yeah, you are.
Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I tend to be more active on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just because I love beautiful things and, everybody's beautiful pictures and fun, posts and stuff. Or it's my jam.
Yeah.
Thank you, Misty, so much for joining us. We wish you well in the new year. We look forward to seeing you on screen and back here with us at some point in the near future. So thank you so much for joining us.
For sure. Thank you so much
Misty.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
It's so nice to meet all of you.